Yeah, we're live. Yep. So we're going to start in the wonderful, wonderful, fabulous world of social media.
Well, it's strange. I got off the train this morning at Union Station, right near the Scotiabank Arena, and as I'm walking to the entrance to get a coffee, there's a poster on the wall, and it says "Forever." You know, and the Leafs, one of their catchphrases has been "Leafs Forever."
Right.
And so it's a poster of three Leaf players, profile. And if anybody wants to go to my Twitter feed, Mike in Buffalo, you can see it. It's Matthews, Marner, and Morgan Riley. So I take the picture and I tweet out, um, which one of the Leafs young core group is not in this photo? And that's all I say.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that I basically, it was a character assassination against William Nylander. And I'm like, no, I'm just saying he wasn't in this. And it's like forever connotes, here's the core group of the team.
Right.
And he's not included. So, extrapolate from that, folks. And I got believe me,
Let's throw it out there. It's a little strange.
That's just marketing, though. That has nothing to do with the team.
What's funny about this is so years ago, I was wandering around the Igloo, right, in Pittsburgh, before they closed it down, and one of my favorite places to go because in the press box you could actually sit and touch the big ceiling. You could actually touch it. You could just tap on it, like it was the big giant dome on top of the Igloo, which was actually not many people know removable. And that the first shows in the Igloo were like outdoor concerts of the orchestra where they would take the ceiling off and everything. Wow. But then they later had to it was too troublesome, so they had to permanently attach it. But I was wandering around the basement of the Igloo. Like this was the last year they were there. It was during the Stanley Cup final runs there when they were finally there, and I came across a poster that's sounds like this, like that you're talking about. But it was from the era of Sakura, Yager, and all the Czech players that were there for a while in Pittsburgh, and it was like cashing our checks or something like that. It had some corny on it, and it had these I forgot all. It was Nedved, right? Peter Nedved.
Yeah. Probably Yuri Herdina.
Yeah, all the Yager, it's Peter Sakura, right?
Well, Sakura wasn't there, but
there was
Martin Straka.
So yeah, but these, yeah, and there's a lot of these badly put together promos. I mean, I think it is what it is. I'm not a big fan of using words like forever, unless you're using them in your marriage vows, because this is a hockey business. It's like forever is really not possible.
Right.
So.
But here's the thing, this is again when marketing things get put out. They don't get run by Mike Babcock. They don't get, this is when you're a corporation, they literally get put out and the GM will see it and either rubber stamp it or not. Now, in some cases, before a season starts, like I had mentioned about Ottawa, clearly they took guys out of there on purpose, right? But that's to be expected because they knew they wouldn't be there. This is completely just marketing and nothing else. For people to draw conclusions on this is silly.
But you don't think that marketing is you don't think that at some point in the preseason in Philadelphia there was a meeting and they brought out Gritty and Dave Hackstall was there and said, well, I think it's a mascot that's going to cheer up people. What the guy said?
Yeah.
No?
Well, it would be one.
Although Holmgren apparently named Gritty, that's the.
Shocking.
Homer came up with a name, which is shocking when you think. I mean, it is kind of because Homer's really a funny guy, but is so silly. For him to be like, I know what we should call this. I just can't imagine that moment when that happened. Anyway. Mike.
No, I was gonna say it would be one thing if they had put Ron Hainsey, Tyler Innes, and Par Lindholm on the banner, but you're right. But when you're putting Marner cornerstone, Matthews cornerstone. Riley, arguably number one defenseman, and you don't make room for four, or you omit the guy who's considered. and maybe I'm thinking too much about this because people were saying, well, Nylander was in Sweden during media day, so no pictures were taken. It's like, I mean, I'm not making a point here. I'm just putting that out and looking at it, and like everybody's losing their head.
I think you're 100% right. I mean, I think him not being on there has everything to do with this, Scott. I mean, and you could say partially because he was in Sweden, which is, you could say that's going to
photos of him everywhere. Come on.
No, right. So I think it's more about, they didn't know where it was going to go. And, and there's no, when you put money into this, it's embarrassing, or are these just the three that you think these?
I think this is just the three they chose. I think it has nothing to, he wasn't going to make the cut regardless.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. Yeah, I mean, I think
this is not Austin Matthews we're talking about. If Austin Matthews were having a contract squabble and they left him out, then you could say something. This is William Nylander. This is, come on.
We're going to get into more stuff about marketing to start the show. So let's actually just start into the show if we could here.
Okay.
Hello, Hockey World. It's Monday, October 15th, 2018.
I'm Michael Agello on location at an undisclosed place.
I'm Russ Cohn from Sportsology. I jumped you again, Peter. You're too slow. Sorry, go ahead.
You know what? I knew you were, Russ, and I'm Peter Tessier, no longer offended by Russ jumping the queue.
I think Peter, you get to go last because you're furthest west or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, there we go. Furthest north, furthest west.
The reason we do, how we actually do the order around here is through seniority. Russ has been covering the game longer than with us, so, and that's like 10 minutes after Russ usually. So that's how we usually do it. But hey,
I'm pissed off, Peter Tessier.
Yeah, I don't really care. And I'm Eklund, by the way, and you're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday to fill you in on comings and goings in the hockey world. And this will be episode 1192 today. And we're gonna be it's true, 1192.
And for Cousin Eddie, so he can jot that down.
Yeah, if you're keeping track of keeping score at home, this is 1192 episode.
There you go.
That's pretty impressive. And that doesn't even count the audio podcast that Mike and I did before that.
Yes, and I lead it with 1,191 performances.
Yeah, you've definitely been on every one of them, and even just on for a couple seconds, right? There was a couple that we had tried to get you on, but you and I probably did at least 500 of these audio podcasts at least. So anyway,
I remember when it was audio.
Yeah, so the Hockey Buzzcast has been going for a while. I should actually probably go back and do those, and then we could really get.
I can remember when you first started doing talk shoe ones, back in 2006 and 2007.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, don't you remember for a year I did the divisional ones? I did Pacific, Central, Atlantic, and Metro Buzz.
And we used to do it with John Jekyll.
Right.
Yeah.
All those guys, John Jordan, everybody. I remember they were good times.
I want to get really old. Back in 2001, I did a live radio broadcast on the internet. It was called Internet Radio because we didn't have the word podcast and nobody had a fancy word for it, at the NHL All-Star Game at the celebration area of it, the convention part of it. That's in 2001. That's a long time ago.
So Russ, just because I'm going to do a one-uppy on you. Back in 1997 in January, I was down in San Francisco, and a friend of mine was a mortgage broker and sort of a hard money lender. And he got an option of this old house just near, it was like a castle that used to be owned by someone who started Pacific Gas and Electric. He had an option to lend money against the people who own this. So we went to look at it because I was visiting them. Really weird collection of people living in this. But one of the guys there was this crazy eccentric tech guy. And he was the first guy to develop an app that would transmit video on the internet.
Wow, that's cool.
1997, he showed us it. And people had done it in other ways, but this was separate from any of the big research firms and stuff. It was wild. He was a total wingnut.
That's pretty cool. Because if you remember the way you used to have to get video on the internet was remember Real Player?
Real Player, yes. We used that for our show, yeah.
Real Audio, it was horrible. It was it was so full of malware. It gave you all kinds of diseases and viruses on your computer because back then it was really
what kind of diseases?
I want to be clear about something here. I've never had a disease.
No. Computer viruses and diseases.
Okay.
So anyway, in the chat room, David, that was pretty cool. I don't think Mike can see that, Russ, so I wanted to throw it out there because it's kind of interesting. So David is he's in our chat room. He's going to be in Toronto next week, Mike, to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, and going to be going to the Maple Leafs Penguins game on his honeymoon. First of all, awesome. Wow. Awesome wife, David. First of all, let's just throw that out there right off the bat. Awesome wife. I mean, that if you can get a wife that can go to the Hockey Hall of Fame and go to a hockey game on your honeymoon. I was married in May, and I was terrified that there would be a Stanley Cup final that I was going to miss. But my Flyers at that time were knocked out early. But my whole time leading up to marriage, the Flyers were doing well in the playoffs. I'm like, damn, what am I going to do if I'm going to be in? I went to Norway on my honeymoon. What if I'm going to be in Norway and the Flyers win the Stanley Cup finally? I'm going to be so. But so Mike, they want to meet up with you, so we'll figure that out. We'll figure out a way.
Yeah, and ask him if
so you don't have that worry.
If David's wife has a cute sister, she can come along.
Introduce anyone to Michael.
And David, I know it's your honeymoon. You're deeply in love. I just want you to know I'm doing everything I possibly can to hold back on making bad jokes right now.
Well, you know what? At least David.
That's Peter's present to you.
Here's the thing. Yeah. My present is at least David married this woman, not like that scoundrel who held up the sign, "I'll marry you when the Leafs win the cup," because both those people will be dead before that happens.
That girl has probably dumped that idiot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean that's like that's the equivalent of buying $1 million insurance policy on a hole-in-one tournament. Right. I'll marry you when the Leafs win the cup. That's really simple. That's really easy to say. I mean, I'll marry him when the Leafs win the cup. How about that?
Oh, wow.
Did you say marry or bury? Because I heard somebody said they wanted 6 Buffalo Bills to come to the funeral so they could let him down one more time.
I've often said that I was born almost exactly 9 months after the Leafs won their last Stanley Cup, which means I may indeed be the Stanley Cup curse of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Throw it out there. Almost exactly 9 months after they won. To the day. Anyway, all right, so there you have it. Let's get on. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, hockey. Here we go. Hockey Buzzcast, that's what we're called. But, David, we'll hook you up with Mike. We'll figure that out for sure. Email me at eklund@hockeybuzz.com, and I'll make sure Mike gets it, and we'll figure out. Mike. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. I want to start today's show with trademark infringement, which is always fun. A fun thing to start with. And why the hell the Winnipeg Jets are not wearing the Winnipeg Jets jerseys that they should be wearing in the first place, the third jerseys, right? Maybe, Peter, you know more about this than I do. What I was told was that the Phoenix Coyotes can keep them from wearing the original Winnipeg Jets logo.
Right.
No, wrong.
That's not true. Okay.
That's not true. The Winnipeg Jets bought the rights to that logo.
They did because they didn't
wear it. North Sports Entertainment owns the rights to that because they used it for the Heritage Classic.
I thought maybe they just rented it or something like that for a game.
They bought the rights back in 2011 or 2012.
Okay, so they have one of the coolest jerseys that they could possibly have. I mean, and let's be fair. People are all up in arms about the Winnipeg Jets original jersey and how cool it was. I remember in 1980 when they came into the league, I was like, yeah. of the New Jerseys, I thought, Hartford, Quebec, and Edmonton were all better than Winnipeg's, but
it didn't look like pajamas. This looked like pajamas,
right? But but there is nostalgia, no matter how bad. I mean, look, for crying out loud, the Vancouver Canuck rink with a stick on it has come back, which is the worst of all time.
No, it's not. Oh. It's not. I actually like that jersey, but no, it wasn't. That wasn't the. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for the championship teams, I think Edmonton was the worst of the 4 WHA jerseys that came in. I thought the Jets jersey was cool.
No.
But
this is a jersey. This is a logo. I just drew it now. That's the logo, right?
Yeah.
No,
it's fine.
Sorry. Anyway, so but moving on to the Jets. So the Jets. I mean, Edmonton's, by the way, the blue and orange were my favorite jersey when they came out. So I had a real hard time. And I'm really pissed that the Oilers blue and orange were my favorite, and I'm really pissed.
In 1987, that was your favorite jersey too.
It was.
Peter.
Yeah. Man.
I did some scanning online this morning because the Jets jersey was very familiar in terms of its design, and if you look at the third jersey of the Minnesota Wild, it's the exact same thing. It's the cursive Jets instead of the cursive Wild, and blue instead of green, but it's the same jersey. It's brutal.
It's I mean,
so
think about
back in
go ahead.
so no one knew this was coming out in the third jersey, and so here I'm going to pull something out here because we always like show and tell. So when the season ticket packages were sent out, if I could open mine, there was this little where'd it go?
Here.
That's all
Anyways,
right.
there's a little keychain, and on the keychain it was that cursive writing, and there's all the speculation. What is that? What is it? And I noticed there's a little jet on it, and everyone's like, "Oh, interesting." And then they got leaked again before they're supposed to, and there it is. They're called the Aviator. I don't understand why, but they're just called the Aviator jerseys, and not my thing.
But
I was at the game last night, and there were a lot of them there.
Peter, on the positive side, at least they're still putting cursive somewhere because they don't teach it in school. But on a hockey jersey, it ain't great.
Right.
I would have less of a problem, Russ, with them wearing green and white like the New York Jets, and have fireman Ed or whatever doing a cheer instead of this abomination with the cursive writing. It's stupid.
Winnipeg Jets. This is the original Winnipeg Jets logo, or the one that came to the NHL. I think there's one before this, right? But
that's a great one. That's great.
It's a good one. Although is it true that it was somehow connected to actually an airline? Like someone. I've heard so many interesting conspiracy theories as to why the Jets don't use it.
I've never heard that. I don't know.
I heard that Arizona owned it. Now you say they bought it back. I heard this had something to do with an airline.
Peter will ask a friend and he'll get back to us.
Anyway, what they wore last night was totally different. I didn't. I'll get a picture of that up too. But I didn't mind the color of it so much. It was like the blue R2D2 thing.
It was the whole thing. It was the combination of the color and the cursive that really just didn't work for me.
It actually reminded me more of the Bolts thing. Like that. That's what I saw.
It did remind me of that a little bit. You're right.
Like the Tampa Bay Bolts.
Yeah.
I thought was.
Yeah, and the Sens jersey for the Ottawa Senators. That was pretty weak.
I get it. I mean, I like the color actually. It's a cool blue. If there was a team in the NHL that had that blue, which is almost I have to say almost like Quebec blue. But that's cool. That's a great color. We need that color back in the NHL. But yeah, this didn't seem like they put a whole lot of thought into it. So what is the holdup, Peter? Why do we not have the vintage? Why don't they go back to the vintage jerseys? What's going on?
They wanted to use them as a one-time thing with the Heritage Classic, basically, and that was the marketing direction they went into. There's really not any sort of
all that money
controversy.
Time. I mean, they must have.
Well, they just don't want a connection to the past. I guess they want to move on.
Well, I don't even think it's a connection to the past. I think that's a heritage thing. It's not the alternate thing. Right. And so it's not saying the past isn't there. They got banners from the WHA and they've got Howard Chuck up there with that logo on. It's a heritage thing, but it's not the new image. And they've been very firm about making sure there's a distinction between the two. And it's not about going backwards as much as it's just saying this is where we are now. So I think they did their heritage thing. They did their time with the Heritage Classic. I don't think it's forever thing. I think eventually they'll come back to it and do something else. But if you look at the history of third jerseys with teams, they go all over the map with stuff. Obvious things like the Canucks have had it because I used to follow the Canucks and blah, blah, blah. They had all sorts of options. You know what the Canucks are going back to is the skate this year.
Yeah.
Back to flying.
And there's all sorts of options.
That's the V thing coming back. The one that's above my head here.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Oh yeah, the V.
Horrible.
See, that's
one. That was before the skate.
That was the Harry Neal, Roger Nielsen one. What you're talking about is like the Pavel Bure. They had the round Canuck. Now the thing is,
it's on the sleeve behind X.
Here's the new one.
That's horrible.
A jet is a jet till you die. So I think. Anyway.
What is this? What is this West Side Story?
Yeah.
Even if they paid to ship it to me, I wouldn't want it.
There's no place for them. Sorry.
The interesting thing is it's a word mark, and it's different than the word mark that they used when they came out with the new Jets logo and everything. So it is a real departure. It's not everyone's taste. It's not what I would have done. I think there's a lot of really cool things you could have done, taking new imagery and the old imagery, and there were certainly a ton of concept jerseys and ideas when before 20, like in the summer of 2011, after the team was moved from Atlanta, about what things could have been done that incorporate with the city. I would have loved to have seen something that took some of those concept ideas and brought them all together, to sort of embracing new and old. That just doesn't do it for me, but
No,
hey,
and
there they are.
and neither did the Philadelphia Flyers jersey on the weekend. I thought that thing was an abomination as well. It's like, I mean, I have no problem with teams going back to their history. Like, even like, I mean, the Buffalo Sabres a few years ago, they went back and had the Buffalo Bisons jerseys from the AHL with the Pepsi bottle cap on it. At least that was it was based in the history of the organization. This thing, what the hell is this?
Here's the Flyers jersey that they
I don't hate this. I don't. I think it shows up well at a game. Actually,
yes, Russ. From what I wasn't at the game, I had a previous.
If you're there, it actually shows up well,
and it actually doesn't look terrible, like hanging in a store window to buy it. But I wouldn't purchase it myself, and it is sort of a takeoff of the. It's pretty close to the jersey they used outside in Pittsburgh, right? I mean,
it's supposed to be really the same one.
I think it's a great seasonal thing, and I look forward to seeing what they do for Christmas once Halloween's passed.
I just hate. Listen, my big thing is I hate teams that go to black for their third jerseys. Like I have an issue with certain colors in the NHL, and I've talked about this before. But I believe that certain teams have owned certain colors, and I think the Flyers own orange. I think they just do, and I think the fact that the Ducks and Oilers have gone to this jersey, I think is horrendous. I think the Bruins own black to me. Like they're the Bruins.
Oh, will you stop? That's so rigid. You can't. I mean, come on.
I mean,
honestly, the only thing I want to see change. And we've only seen it like in a couple instances where, like, I think it was Carolina and Nashville during the preseason both wore their dark jerseys. Carolina wore the red and Nashville wore the yellow. I want to go back to the home team wearing white and the road team wearing their dark jersey, because I want to see. One of the things when I was a kid, I loved seeing the different colors of the different home,
when they came
a different road, right? But now it's like, okay, you see this, like, it's Buffalo, you see them in blue, and then you see everybody in white.
Back then, they didn't care about jersey sales. Like, you basically back in those days, like, I had a jersey, right, and I knew a friend with another jersey. But, like, not everybody had a jersey, so they didn't care about that. They didn't think about that ahead of time. They didn't write it on the schedule. They didn't tell the teams, hey, for this one, we're going to wear this one. The equipment managers, like, it was all just up for grabs. Now it's all carefully calculated.
And I think I am a fan. I was right with you, Mike, when we had a podcast about this a long time ago when they changed these things to the home and away thing. But they're actually going back to where it was before. So it actually is for us. It's new, but it's actually, they used to wear their dark jerseys at home in the original 6 era. But and I have been with you 100%, and then all of a sudden I shifted to, like, I really like the dark jerseys at home. It's kind of the football thing that, to me, I grew up in football. But now that you say this, you actually nailed it in a way that I don't think you've been incorrect in such a long time. That you
that's a great compliment.
That that you're right, that the thing that is annoying about this is not seeing the cool jerseys from the other teams, which are the darker jerseys, and when they come to town you don't see them. And you're right about that. I think I really think that's an excellent point, because as a kid, growing up with the white jerseys, and even remembering back to, this is how old I am, remembering back to the era when you couldn't watch the home games on TV at all, so you never saw the white jerseys, almost, like, unless you had tickets, you never saw the white jerseys. That was like something that, I remember seeing the white jerseys for the first time when the Flyers went on Prism and everything like that here. And that was a cable, like a new cable, upstart cable thing. And I was blown away. I'm like, wow, the Flyers white jerseys look really cool. That's how rare they were to see them, But yeah, I'm with you. I think that we are missing out on the other team's cool jerseys because we're seeing everything in white. I agree. I don't know. I'm not.
I also think that it's not completely unacceptable. And now it's one thing, like if one team has black and one team has blue, then you can't do it. But if the Calgary Flames are wearing red, what's to stop another team from wearing a different, darker color? It's not like you're going to get confused with green or blue. Just do that. I mean, white is boring.
Right.
So
I will say this: there is something I'd hate. Maybe it's just because I'm old, but I do hate black numbers on black jerseys, like that kind of thing that we see now. Like a lot, you see like a black number on a red jersey, or like the Calgary Flames jerseys are this way. I think the red jerseys, right? They have the dark number on the back of them.
Hard to see as a fan, or you just don't like the look of it?
No, I don't like the look at it. It's really hard to see, like from the press box, for a person, with
really. That's all I care about in life. They should only really worry about jerseys that we could see in the press box. I don't care
about on TV, right? Like, I mean, on TV, you start to know what the players skate like and what they look like. But besides that, when you're watching an opposing team, you don't know. I mean, and I've had to watch, this goes into my whole, big beef of the NHL of not having numbers on their practice jerseys and in practices. That to me is the most absurd thing in the world. Like that we have to read their little helmet numbers and stuff like that. And that fans are going to this thing and they have to read the little helmet numbers. But yeah, I think that the NHL needs to take a little bit more care of this. I mean, what is the coolest third jersey that we've seen so far? I mean, we haven't seen many of them, I don't think. I don't think there have been many really cool third jerseys. I mean,
no, I like the looks of some of them. I liked what the Penguins just floated out there. I thought that was fine. I liked
their old jersey, though. I mean, it's basically.
Right, well, but you're asking. So.
Yeah, no, but
if you're talking about like in the past, or if you're talking about this year, this year I haven't seen one that I've really liked. If you're talking about in the past, I loved the powder blue Pittsburgh jersey that they wore at the first outdoor game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think.
I thought the Islanders jersey was nice.
Yeah.
Which Islanders one?
This year, the third jersey.
Okay, I don't know if I've seen that one yet. I guess.
I
always kind of like the Fisherman. I don't know why. I just liked it.
I was a big fan of the.
And I like the Blue Jackets third jersey this year.
Well, I'll give you something. I'll give you.
Even better than the regular jerseys, actually.
I'll give you something that a friend of mine told me from Connecticut, and there is a sizable portion of old Hartford Whaler fans that are pissed off Canes are using the Hartford Whalers jersey as their third jersey.
That's surprising. I would have thought they would. I mean, everybody I've talked to from up there is really thrilled about it. Like I have a friend who's a old Hartford Whalers fan who's like trying to get tickets to drive down there to see a game. He wants to go down to Carolina. So tickets are available. You just have to get down there. But that I think and that brings me back to the Winnipeg Jets. And the fact that for kids like us who grew up with when the WHA came into the NHL, those are cool jerseys. And I think the Jets are just missing the boat here. It really feels as if there's something deeper here, Peter. It feels like they really don't.
I think part of the problem is they sold a crap ton of them for the Heritage Classic.
Okay.
Like they had, they didn't just sell a ton, like they had them. So that was 2016.
Right, so they wanted something.
You could still buy them, the last remaining ones. And they even made an announcement they weren't producing any more last year at a certain point in time, saying the run is done. Yeah. Even before the postseason began, you could still get white ones. They sold them. So there may not have even been an appetite for more of those because they'd already done them. You got to remember that.
No, I know. These are marketing. These are about making money. There's no question about it. I do agree with you there. All right, let's move on from the jersey discussion to the New Jersey Devils. There's a transition for you. The New Jersey Devils, who I remember we had the talk in the poll, and I was so tempted to put them higher than I put them. I put them at 5th, which was really hard to put them in. I really thought that they could be 2nd or 3rd in this division. I mean, I know that it's early. Again, it's very early, but we can always use that excuse, but we can't time travel. So right now, what we have is the New Jersey Devils being, they beat the Sharks. They're undefeated, right? They're impressive. And I think that I keep thinking, Russ, every time I see him, what you said last week, which is so true, that this is like Kincaid's team. This is
totally Kincaid's team now. Like it's totally
it's cemented now.
Yeah, it's cemented now. Like and it's nothing Corey Schneider did other than not being healthy. Like it's just he was hurt at 2 of the wrong times of the year. the stretch run for the playoffs last year, and the start of this year. So really the Schneider era as the number one is over now. Will they do more of a split, like a complete split? Maybe. But it's going to be hard to go back to him when you got Kincaid playing like this. I mean, if Bratt was out, still out with a broken jaw, there's no way you'd have thought the Devils would have done this well. And I don't know if they'll really keep up this pace either. It is early in the year.
Really. As I said before, Russ, they have to reestablish Schneider's value. They have to not just his value, but that he's durable. And that I think that's going to, because if it's truly Kincaid's team and they're going to re-sign Kincaid and he's the number one, because remember he's a UFA at the end of the year, then they have to move Schneider. You can't have a $6 million backup.
Listen, if they bring back Schneider and they're losing games, they're not going to force him in there just to have him in there. And if Kincaid is winning more games than Schneider, it won't matter about trade value.
Mike, we're losing you a little bit here. Mike, maybe log out and log back in. Your internet's going on a little bit here.
Yeah, not everything's about trade value. Sometimes you have to worry about what's actually happening with the team mentally. Who are they playing better for? Who are they trying for? Think about Nico Hischier, just as an example. He's played more games with Keith Kincaid than he has Schneider, I bet.
And you have to take into account the fact that last year they had this run, and when you have a run like that to make the playoffs, that's a bonding thing for a team.
Yes.
That's like put them together, and now they're back together in this. And I think that I can't, like I wrote a blog today that I've heard the Blues have talked to the Columbus Blue Jackets about Bobrovsky, that's a possibility. That's an interesting possibility for sure. We talked last week about Schneider being.
Well, the interesting thing about Bobrovsky and what you were talking about in your column this morning is that on Saturday, I think it was Nick Kiprios from Sportsnet said that Bobrovsky is looking to hit the home run, meaning he wants a Carey Price deal. Nobody in the NHL worth a damn is going to give Sergei Bobrovsky, with his injury history, $10.5 million, or even the percentage equaling $10.5 million against the cap. He's a great goaltender. He's a Vezina winner, but he's never one thing.
Been in the running for Vezina 2 of the last 4 years, whatever it is.
Okay, but just think about the coach there. I'm agreeing with Mike.
Yeah.
Think about the coach there. Other than having Lundqvist, he's a coach that really will play with any goalie. If you go up to him and say, is Bobrovsky worth X amount to us, or would you rather have this? He's going to choose the latter and go with the other goalie because he knows Korpisalo. It will be a little bit of a drop down, but if they sign Bobrovsky to that kind of deal, not only will you lose Panarin, you're going to lose somebody else too.
Yeah. I don't, hockey's such a different sport than the other sports with salary caps, because first of all, the salary cap based on the number of players playing is less per player. So when you go so far above per player, if it doesn't work out, or if that player is unavailable to you through injury, the cascading mess is massive.
Yeah.
So a goalie is probably the biggest example of position of when it's great, it's the best feeling ever. Great goaltending, it's a hell of a drug. You're riding that all the time. But when the come down hits, it's really ugly. And if you've got $10.5 million tied up in it and it's not good, ask any Canadiens fan what that feels like. It's not a pretty picture. And that's something that I think teams really have to start. This is getting wise to, but also remember, as a business, this is one of those hard decisions that you have to make, to say, this is probably the thing you might want to really have the hard talks about walking away from. And being the team too that's even considering signing someone for that amount.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's going to just, Bobrovsky's going to have to, it's going to be such an interesting twist for them. You feel bad for Columbus because they have to do something this year. Like, that Kukalainen has to do something this year.
Yeah.
And he set it up perfectly for them to do something this year. Like everything, it's next year that's the problem, right? So he's sitting there.
No, you're right. And if they were to win it this year, then there'd be less discussion about this. But
if they win it and those guys leave, it becomes like, Barry Trotz, whatever, you win and you leave. And no one's going to sit there and say they should have, gotten something for Barry Trotz or whatever. Not that you could have, but it's a real bind. I mean, to me, I get the sense that the Kukalainen is very different than a lot of GMs. He's
completely different.
He's completely different, right? The way he looks at it is very like no nonsense. he is just as cut and dry as you can get, like, and
He
dry.
doesn't put on any airs. If you actually get him for an interview, he's going to tell you what is exactly on his mind.
Exactly what he's thinking. He'll. I had this off the record discussion with him, not too long. I mean, he'll tell you exactly what's going on. And I mean, he doesn't always want everything out there, and he's doing the best he can. But he also doesn't really have much to hide. Like, he's not a hiding type guy. And he's very much, we'll lose him for nothing type of. He does not care about losing them for nothing. I can tell you that flat out. They don't want to do that, of course.
Because he's so good of a talent evaluator that he's confident in that.
Yeah, and he'd rather the team go on a really good playoff run, and just and get those guys and pretend that they're just rentals that they picked up at the trade deadline or whatever. Then guys are going to lose for nothing, because that's how they see it. Breaking news: we got that Marco Dano was claimed by Colorado.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about this is just he was rushed by Columbus.
Right.
He should never have been in the NHL at 19 years old. He should have played at least 2 full seasons in the AHL to see what he was going to be. He got rushed. He got bounced around. And now at 23, you're looking at Marco Dano saying, what the hell happened? And there's probably still something there, but he's got to be retrained. He's got to be brought into that organization slowly. You can't just throw him in there at the NHL level. Hopefully Colorado can do that.
Yeah, this Marco Dano has been a massive point of controversy for Jets fans. And you think, why Marco Dano?
Yeah.
The reason being is he does a lot of things really well, and his underlying numbers and stuff favor him from an analytics point of view. But something doesn't stick with now 3 coaches. Right? There's something there that isn't working. The interesting thing is, what the argument with many Jets fans is that in 400 less minutes in his career, he basically has the exact same amount of points as Brandon Tanev, who's a third-line all-star now, apparently, with the Jets. And I can't remember the other point just on compared to it. It might even be Nick Petan. And so from a Jets point, it looks like this. Rather than send waiver exempt Brendan Lemieux down to the Moose, you waived Marco Dano.
Yeah.
And you took the risk that he would either get through.
They envision a particular role for Brendan Lemieux. Even though he has offensive ability, he's got toughness, right? So they decided, hey, we've got a lot of guys like Dano. We don't have anybody else like Lemieux. That's the reason they did it. I'm not saying it's right. But that's the reason.
Lemieux could go down and it wouldn't get claimed. It was a free pass. So it just doesn't make sense. And it's another case of sort of strange asset management. And I think that's what Jets fans are considering, is this guy was kind of a key piece in your trade with Andrew Ladd, and you've given him chances. Why doesn't he stick? His numbers say he could be doing more. He can contribute. He had a great preseason. Why can't he get on the ice, but yet you'll keep Lemieux in the press box and risk losing him for nothing? Get a 6th rounder for him. There must have been something for him. And this is what's really curious. And it's radio silence from the club.
How often did he play with the same line mates, Peter? Did he get any kind of length of time with the same line mates? That's usually the first problem.
This is the thing. It's believed that Maurice had – okay, Paul Maurice is a coach that needs to trust. You establish trust with him, and then you go from there. And that's not an uncommon trait, as we know, with NHL coaches, right? Right. There was no trust with Dano. I think I understand why, but once he could never trust him, he couldn't bring him in steady. And so that may have been it. But again, that's one thing. Then get rid of him. Don't re-sign him in the summer. Make a trade. Do something. Get something for him. And gone. It just seems odd, considering he was obviously a pretty important piece to get back when you traded Andrew Ladd.
But that was a while ago, and Andrew Ladd's he's not Andrew Ladd anymore either, right? I mean, it's one of those things. This is the danger of when you play a player in the league too early. And again, was it because he played in Europe against men that Columbus felt like he was ready? Maybe, but they should have realized after a while, hey, you know what? Let's just send him down and leave him down. And that didn't happen. So then the next team, he shows exactly what Peter says. He gets another 30 games. And the next team, he gets another 12, 15 games. You know what I mean? And this is how a guy gets rotated around the league, because then you don't have any – look, Artem Anisimov almost had this happen to him with teams. And he finally did stick. And I saw a lot of ability in Artem Anisimov, but the Rangers just kept bouncing him with different line mates. And even you could tell me, I wish I had the same line mates. And so that is a big deal. And unfortunately, you know, I don't know if he's going to get the same line mates in Colorado right away. So that's why let him go down to AHL and really learn the ways of the Colorado Avalanche. And then if there's an injury, let him stay in the line and stick there for a while.
And they can send him there right away, right? Because they've cleaned up. And the interesting thing, too, is Colorado is a team in development. They've got a whole bunch of things they can do. And I bet you once they understand who Dano is and can work this through, he's going to find an opportunity with an up-and-coming young team. Jason Bell of the Winnipeg Free Press ran into Dano today and said he was grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
That says something.
That says something. He just needs a fresh start. Speaking of fresh starts, so before we get on to another thing, Reed Boucher, okay, who is, you know, maybe I think I'm supposed to think
I know who Reed Boucher is, yeah.
I think of him as like a Devils pick. He played for the Predators for a while. He got he was with the Canucks last year, and he's with the Canucks again last year. He signed a game. He is just tearing it up in the AHL for Utica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
8 goals in 5 games.
Well, it helps that Reed Boucher and the Utica Comets have played against the Toronto Marlies 3 times in 5 or 6 games, because the Marlies have the worst goaltending in the AHL. I think it's 31 goals against, which is a symptom of the fact that they lost Pickard and they lost McElhaney on waivers, and their string goaltender Kazimir Kaskasuo was placed with another AHL team last year, and their defense has been so bad that they had to pick up 2 former NHLers on PTOs to cover up. I mean, it's just that, you know, after a Don Calder Cup winning year, you know, that a lot of those players are playing with the Leafs now.
Which is typical. That happens a lot. You know, with a team wins Calder, they move up to the big, you know, the big team will take from them, and they'll end up having to rebuild. But
you know what it is with Boucher? He's the guy that is one of the fastest guys on the ice.
Yeah.
And he does have a really good shot. You move him up to the next level, he can't finish.
It's interesting. Yeah, he had a really nice
consistent basis.
Yeah, I mean, he last night batted one out of midair. He's
got great skill, but I mean, look at TJ Brennan. You look at him down with the Phantoms. This guy is the best looking offensive defenseman you've ever seen in the AHL. You bring him up, he can't do the job at the NHL level. Just the way it is.
Oh, for sure.
Now,
talking about Justin Schultz too. Justin Schultz has had a collision with Thomas Plekanec, and has fractured his lower left leg on Sunday, or I guess this was Saturday. He's going to be out 4 months. Plekanec's feels horrible about it. Just called him up and all this stuff was going on. But what this really means at the end of the day for the Penguins is pretty interesting. I mean, this is a big one for them.
It is. I mean, look, they could look at a team like the Rangers that have 2 or 3 guys that they could try trading for. They only have like $800,000 in cap space, so I guess they could put Schultz on like a temporary IR thing. But if you put him on LTIR, I don't know if you can get him back for the playoffs. Can you?
I think so.
You think so? Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know if you could do it for the playoffs. That's the only thing. Like if he's out.
No, if you put him TIR, he can come back whatever time. The only ramification is salary cap wise. But
if you trade for him, you've got to ditch the cap space that you acquire.
Okay, so that's a penalty. Right. So they'll put him on LTIR. They can get anybody. Like to me, I would look at Adam McQuaid on the Rangers, and if the Rangers really knew what kind of team they have, which I think they do, you could look and get something really good for him now. Get a prospect. I don't think the Rangers will do it, but the Rangers have 2 or 3 kids that could be traded.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do something like that because their defense is getting very weak. If you look at the roster there, after the top 3, it's not great.
Yeah.
Maybe they go outside the league and go to get Toby Enstrom back from the SHL or somebody like that before they, because right now nobody's trading defensemen and nobody's going to trade anybody before American Thanksgiving. Everybody's still evaluating their own teams, but there are teams out there that I think once it gets to Thanksgiving and they settle in and realize what their team actually is, that some guys will come available. But if they want something right away. I mean, apparently Oli Mata was in the doghouse, and I think he sat one game earlier, like last week. That won't be happening now that Justin Schultz is not hurt.
Yeah,
Is hurt.
Has been in and out of the doghouse for that team forever. You know, I mean, it's really incredible how
They need more help than that.
Yeah, they do. No, and Oli Mata just is somebody, you know, he's amazing at times.
Rush too. I mean, he's a guy that looked really good early, but again, when you're a young defenseman, and the problem is when the good stuff happens early, that gets embedded into you, and it does really well. But then when the bad stuff starts happening, a lot of times they don't know how to deal with it. Go look at Michael Del Zotto. He's turned into an okay defenseman, but look how the up and down of his career has been.
Roller coaster's been incredible. Let's go to Elias Pettersson.
Yeah.
Who was going to be out with a concussion for a while. This hit just made me insane, and I wrote a story that got a lot of attention. I was on a couple Canadian radio stations saying that NHL players need to wake up, and you know that this has to be a wake up call, that there has to be more respect given for players in the league. Like, you just can't. This cannot continue like this. It's just insane how, you know, innocent players who are just completely. We're not talking about anything that, you know, had anything to do with the game. And a guy who could have easily pulled up. We haven't seen. I don't know if any discipline's been handed out yet. Has it? Let's see.
No.
Or
No.
even if they're going to, right? But I mean,
I don't
Well,
believe
they're having a call. They are having a call.
Yeah, okay.
We don't know.
Oh, I hadn't heard that part yet.
No, they are. They are having a call today, I think.
And discipline is one thing, but it doesn't really change essentially what I was trying to say, which is that, you know, their respect is like a bigger thing, right? And what are your thoughts, Peter?
Here was the big problem I had with what I saw.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, Florida, this is frustration on Florida's part, on Mike Matheson's part, because Florida doesn't have a win on the season. Pettersson is hard as hell to cover, and I believe had a goal in that game already. And you do a WWE takedown after a hit, right? And when a guy snaps like that, I don't want to hear from media people that, hey, he's a good guy. He's a good hockey player. I don't want to hear that. If I walk up to Eck in the press box and punch him in the face, people could say, hey, Russ is a good guy, but it doesn't matter because I just punched him in the face. Why did I do that? And
after you get up off the floor for me kicking your ass, you would have issues there. And yeah, I know, I agree with you.
But he needs to be disciplined. He does.
Right.
The worry I have is that he doesn't have any priors. That's the worry that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is so interesting because I actually hadn't seen the hit till this morning, and I finally saw it, and I was like, wow, what? Oh, like, it's sort of like the hit. Oh no, it's not the hit on the boards. It's what he does after.
Afterwards,
picks him up and drills him into the ice.
I know.
Like,
so
what's the point of that? So I follow rugby a lot, and rugby did something like that because in a lot of tackling in rugby, and let's call it professional rugby, you can literally, you get your arms around a guy, and sometimes there's a huge size thing, and what they outlawed was that specific thing, picking up a guy and dropping him backwards, because tackling in rugby is not like football. You don't just dive in front of someone and just try to get them to fall and the play ends, because the play continues. It's about containing the person and the ball. What Matheson did was a deliberate attempt to inflict pain. I'm not going to say cause injury, but inflict pain. There's no need to do that. You'd already pinned him hard and clean against the boards as the puck came around. You were pissed off that he dropped you about 10 seconds before, and that he didn't even blink an eye when you slashed him across the legs, that you didn't get penalized for either, by the way.
You know what it is, Peter? It's here. Welcome to the HL type of move. That's what it was. And it was dirty, and he should get suspended for it. But you're not going to stop that. I mean, that's a throwback old world type of thing, but I think it's still, you know, if a rookie does that, you know, and, you know, I think that a veteran is going to exert some retribution, and that's what happened. Now, I think it sucks because I want to see Pettersson play, and I think, you know, he's an amazing young talent, but, you know, and is it going to be a deterrent against him undressing somebody? I hope not.
No, it can't be. And that's the thing. We just need to have, you got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to be aware of what you're doing. you can't just like Russ said, you can't just punch someone in the face. You can't just drill someone in the ice. You got to know that this is who this is that you're dealing with. You're dealing with a kid, like you're dealing with a 20-year-old kid. To me, it's like it's absurd in every possible way. Everything about this really just makes me angry. And I really just feel like there's nothing that suspensions are going to do about it. Like it's not about suspension.
That's true. And Eck, I want to point out that even though we believe, because it's happened before, that, hey, when you call in, you're going to get an automatic 5-game suspension. I don't have that much belief in the system. It's not written as an actual rule. I don't have that much belief because there's nothing to match this up against. The league either has to take an example out of them and really give them like 8 to 10 games, or who knows what will happen, because, again, he has never done anything bad. But, again, I don't care about that.
So, I mean, let's also remember that half the people in Florida weren't coming to see Matheson. Right. Of the 8,000 people there, they were coming to see Pedersen. Like, like, players also have to recognize part of the reason you get money is because people show up, and the NFL figure that out. They don't show up to watch the backup quarterback. They show up to watch the named players, the guys who do spectacular things. And if you're going to take those guys out of the game, you're not going to have anyone there.
Well, Peter, no, let's just say this, though. The Houston Texan fans are definitely coming to see the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills because he'll throw touchdowns to his team, to their team.
Okay.
But you know what? And not to be a Neanderthal here, but okay, what happens if actually Vancouver has somebody who exacts, somebody on their roster other than Erica Branson who could exact a little revenge, as a deterrent, like, their version of Matt Martin? Would that have happened?
Like that, you could have a suspension here. That's still going to happen. The payback justice system is fully in place. That's going to happen no matter what.
It is still going to happen. And I mean, and I think that this is just, I don't know what the NHL. It feels like to me like the players need to get together and have some kind of like.
What was the call on the ice, by the way?
I don't even know.
I don't think there was one.
So he wasn't even ejected from the game. Nothing, right?
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Again, so here's the thing. Okay, we could say all that we want that a suspension is in line, and Eck is right. That doesn't matter. You need to pull these refs into a meeting and discipline them too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. No, you really do.
How many times do we see nothing happens in the game, then all of a sudden there is a suspension, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't that have been taken care of in that game on the ice for the team that was wronged?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I don't.
That's a missing point here that I haven't heard in a lot of these conversations.
It's incredible that this is completely. I mean, with the refs on the ice and all the linesmen on the ice, someone has to have seen this and someone has to have picked up on it. I mean, that we have to when someone goes beyond and when someone's trying to hurt somebody, there needs to be another level to this, and it needs to go beyond punishment. It needs to go to almost like an anger management type session. Like, we need to figure this out. We need to figure out how we're not going to do this anymore. Like, it just, if that was happening in any other business place in the world, it would be that's what would happen. It's just like, there's more to this. That there's more to this than, especially, I mean, we're not talking about two teams that have, a historic rivalry with each other. We're talking about Vancouver and Florida. They can be further apart from each other in land distance. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous that these teams would have this issue. Completely crazy.
And look, and Matheson reached out to Pedersen, and that's all well and good, but you still did something here that actually the league really needs to crack down on, because otherwise, who's to say we're not going to see it again?
Yeah.
Now, Russ, you wanted to talk about the Rangers?
Yeah. What I wanted to mention here, there's a thing where I saw a quote from David Quinn, and I know it's early in his tenure there, and he's got to figure out things with guys. And so he's trying to figure out how to get more playing time for Philip Cheetle. And, well, by doing that now, Pavel Buchnevich has been moved off the power play. Jimmy Vesey's on the second power play. And Buchnevich might not even be in the next game. They might be playing, McLeod over him. And so, like, this just – you look at the Rangers, Kevin Hayes has 1 point in 5 games. He's a UFA after this season. If I'm the coach – what do I really owe Kevin Hayes here in playing time when I'm trying to develop these other players for the future, because Kevin Hayes is not the future of the New York Rangers. Neither is Cody McLeod, but I get that he's going to play once in a while. But I just think this is something that David Quinn has to sort of get in line, this juggling act, because it could really hurt development of players otherwise. Because like Brett Howden started off hot, right? He's got 3 points. If I asked you and I'm going to do this, I'm doing this to Eck because he does it to me all the time. Who is the leading scorer of the New York Rangers?
Currently? Mark Stahl.
Yes, for fast. It's almost as absurd. And so, and if you think about it, so Brett Howden got 3 points. He's 1 point off, I think, the team lead. So Mike texted me, they started to move him up with guys like Zuccarello and stuff. It's like, leave him be. This is a guy who will be a role player in the NHL. Let him play a role right now. Let him get used to the guys he's playing to. Don't start moving him around because he's hot. Here's the problem is when you bring in a new coach, they don't want to lose games. I get it. But the Rangers are 1-4. Henrik Lundqvist has a .938 save percentage, by the way, which is probably the most underreported stat in hockey because the Ranger haters, and there's plenty of Lundqvist haters, don't want to talk about it because the team's just bad, right? So they just, it's bad. Lundqvist has been spectacular. He's 1-3 with a .938 save percentage.
And we saw this last year when the letter was sent out and we were talking about the Rangers not tanking but the Rangers rebuilding, that Lundqvist was going to prevent that all on his own by being good, by being Lundqvist, which is the same thing that's going to happen in Montreal if Carey Price stays healthy when he's got the flu right now. But if he stays healthy, if Carey Price is Carey Price, he's going to earn them points that they don't want because right now these seasons are to get the chance of getting Hughes or the Finnish kid who's expected to be the number 2. That's what they're aiming for. Not victories in a season where they know they're not making the playoffs.
Right.
And to me, it's like if you don't have Pavel Vucinovic on the power play, then just trade him because this guy has got a tremendous shot. And I get it that he may not have scored like the amount of goals that you think he's going to score yet in his NHL career, but he's not going to get them all at even strength. I can tell you that.
And there's I agree, especially when you have a team like that Lundqvist is standing on his head like this. Your power play has to be huge for you. It has to just
no slight to Jimmy Vesey. He does a lot of nice little things, might even get in front of the net for you. And it's power play too, but you got to give it to more of the skill guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Completely.
Well, let me just mention one thing for the game tonight, LA and Toronto. It was funny. Drew Doughty is extremely glib and forthcoming with the media, and he was interviewed by Pierre LeBrun yesterday. And talked about, how he basically, he was open and interested in Toronto when he hadn't signed his extension. But essentially he admitted that really I floated Toronto out there to get the King to come to the table, to pony up, to give me the long-term deal, and never interested in Toronto. There is a playbook here. I'm telling you, Toronto is used by general managers and by players as a carrot.
It's nothing new.
All the time.
It's been, back in the pre-salary cap era, it was, the Flyers, the Rangers, Toronto, and Detroit were always used by the media.
And the Flyers and Rangers would make moves based on what the other one did.
They definitely did, but teams would, but players would, back when the Flyers and the Rangers and Red Wings and Maple Leafs could spend however much they wanted to. It was if you were shopping if you were trying to get a player signed, you would always say to them, well, the Flyers are interested in him or the Rangers. Because that money was there. So and Toronto is still a team that's sitting there with lots of cap space. Even though we all know that they have to save that cap space for other things, they're sitting there with lots of cap space right now. So yeah, it's not surprising at all.
And the other interesting thing about this game is, Freddie Anderson was acquired from Anaheim in July of 2016. In the 2 seasons and now 2 weeks of his career in Toronto, he has never sat in a non-back-to-back situation unless he's been hurt. Tonight is the first time in a non-back-to-back situation he is not playing, where Garrett Sparks is starting in goal for the Leafs. And and the reason for that is because they don't have a back-to-back until next month. And Babcock doesn't want to play Freddie Anderson 16 games and have Sparks playing 1. But I also think it's because they have to evaluate in the next couple weeks Garrett Sparks and his viability as an NHL backup, because pretty soon, you could see McElhaney placed back on waivers. You could see Pickard placed back on waivers. They have to make a decision if that happens, and if that doesn't happen, they have to make a decision on getting a backup goaltender, because if Sparks isn't up to the task, they need one.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do remember Anderson. Also, if I gotta check this for sure, and someone else I'm sure knows this for sure, but I kind of remember Anderson struggling against the Kings when he was a Duck. Trying to remember if that's true or not, but I'm trying. I have to. It's something in my head. I usually have.
I'll take a look at his career stats against the Kings. Yeah, I'll let you know.
And pretty good memory, that kind of stuff. There's certain goalies that don't like play against certain teams. I think that's might be one of them. Someone sent me this before we get out of here. This is really good. So they just we're talking about bad alternate jerseys, and they sent me this screenshot of a YouTube video, which is kind of fuzzy. But we're going way back in time now to the year would be, let's say when the year is. This is the 90s, so somewhere in the 90s for sure. I'm going to say late 90s, like 98. And you have the LA Kings versus the Anaheim Ducks in like arguably two of the worst jerseys of all time. Like if you remember these jerseys.
Oh yeah, those Kings ones are brutal.
This is like the Burger King Kings one. It has like the Burger King guy up there, and then the Ducks one, which was this bizarre duck type thing.
That's a good point.
I mean, so this has been going on for a while. But yeah, that Kings one with the purple like sash type, that was really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as bad as the barber pole jersey for the Montreal Canadiens, the one that gave everybody epileptic fits.
Yeah.
By the way, and this is an interesting one that really gets no coverage because how good the offense has been on the Leafs. Freddie Anderson's 29th in save percentage. Just saying.
Yeah, he's 4-1 with an .899 save percentage. And the thing is, it's like traditionally he's been, October has been his worst month of the year, and it sort of gets skewed. Actually, the thing is, I think it's unfair to Anderson. The defense has been virtually non-existent, and everybody is loving it here because they're playing wide open offense, and Austin Matthews is he's being worshipped as a Greek god and things of that nature. But when it comes down to the playoffs, and Mike Babcock is fully aware of this, his team needs to play defense or they're not going anywhere. And he's not going to rain on the parade because they're winning games right now. But eventually they have to tighten up, and that's where I'm concerned that they don't have the materials in terms of the players on defense to be able to play that type of game.
Yeah. Someone along those lines pointed out to me, and something we'll get into maybe tomorrow a little bit more, of the of really the horrible, I'm not a big stats guy as far as I'm a huge stats guy, but as far as like some of the analytics stats for goalies, I think can be very misleading. But since he's coming to the league, the horrendous analytics stats of Martin Jones, which I didn't realize was the case, like that he actually has not, he's like 29th in several categories, over that period of time. And we all think of him as, he had a great playoff run for San Jose where he looked amazing, but he's not been great this year. He's been okay, but
this year he's been a little off. I admit, I can see that. We all could see that.
Yeah, you can see that, and it's just you wonder, is it possible that Martin Jones, is maybe overrated? Like and is that something that the Sharks are going to have to look at moving forward?
I don't think so. I mean, look, I know they have Aaron Dell and all. I don't think so though.
Yeah. I mean, Dell looked good in Philly, but in that one game we saw him play, but
yeah.
There's plenty out there still to go. All right, guys. That's all the time we have. Thank you, Peter. Thanks everybody as always for jumping on, and thanks for watching us and following the show. And I think we got a good name for the show today. We're gonna be naming the shows from now on. So chat room, as we go through these shows, if you come up with a good name for the show.
Bad third jerseys.
I know I got a better one for this one. But so in the chat room, always you can throw up at the end. Well, at the end when I'm going to say we're going to end the show soon, I'm going to ask you to start putting names in the chat room so you guys can help us name the show. But
please throw up in the chat room.
This is the show where Russ punches Eck in the face. That's going to be the name of the show. Right, so there you have it.
But it's a dream sequence.
Yes. Rush punches Eck in the face. So see if that brings up the views. We're gonna do clickbait here, but we're gonna play that out. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We'll talk to you tomorrow.